Ladies and gentlemen, when people say that President Trump is this authoritarian and despot, they don't realize that he runs by the same rules, the same laws, the same guidelines, the same protocol that every other president has endured. He runs by the same system. They don't like President Trump because he's effective and he wins a good amount of the time. Today he won a Supreme Court decision and he lost the Supreme Court decision. But that's why he's not a despot or authoritarian. He's not doing anything that he's unable to do within the framework of the Constitution. If he is allowed to engage in a course of action, he does so like any president. If his executive orders or what he wants is deemed unconstitutional, then the Supreme Court strikes it down. If an executive order or one of his policies are deemed constitutional or lawful, then the Supreme Court sides with Trump. Democrats don't seem to realize this. Media doesn't. They don't seem to realize this. So just really quickly, today, President Trump lost a battle in the Supreme Court, and he won a battle. He lost a battle against Supreme Court rules against EPA on wastewater. The United States Supreme Court ruled 6-3 on Thursday that sewage plants and other industries must abide by environmental requirements under the Clean Water Act when sending dirty water on an indirect route to rivers and oceans. Okay, the Associated Press reports. Now, so he lost the battle there. Usually despots don't usually lose many battles. Okay, legal battles. President Trump, throughout his tenure, has had victories, and he's had losses in the Supreme Court. So that's an important thing to remember. Supreme Court now, New York Post, Supreme Court sides with Trump on removing green card holder who committed crimes. So New York Post, Supreme Court sides with President Trump on removing green card holder who committed crimes. Green card holders with criminal offenses will now have a harder time fighting being removed from the country after the Supreme Court ruled with the Trump administration on Thursday. Okay, from what I understand so the Supreme Court today, the EPA ruling, from what I understand about it, I agree with the Supreme Court. I agree with the Supreme Court on that. And the Supreme Court, what they ruled with pertaining to President Trump, I agree with that also. If you've committed an offense, and there are other people who want to become, permanent resident citizens, and they haven't committed an offense, or they haven't broken the law, they should be able to stay. And if you have broken the law, and you are within the time frame of applying for permanent residence, then no, I don't think that's a very controversial issue. But here, the split 5-4 ruling applied to the case of a non-citizen who was charged with firearm and drug offenses after immigration in the 80s. His crime made him eligible to be removed from the country. But he argued he was ineligible based on a law that allows some long-term legal U.S. non-citizen residents to avoid expulsion. Green card holders may apply to have their removal orders canceled if they have been living in the U.S. continuously for at least 7 years. If they commit a statutory offense, their period of continuous residence goes back to 0 under the stop time rule. Even though he was not seeking admission to the country and his crimes were not enough to remove him, the Supreme Court ruled that he would not be able to fight the removal charges. Okay, so he had one criminal offense pertaining. He was convicted of drug possession, and then he was at a friend's home. Let's see, where another crime took place. Okay. Justice Kavanaugh noted in his opinion for the court's conservatives that it was important that the 1996 crime took place in the first 7 years he was admitted into the country. Kavanaugh wrote that, quote, when a lawful permanent resident has amassed a criminal record of this kind, immigration law makes them ineligible to ask to be allowed to stay in the country. Removal of a lawful permanent resident from the United States is a wrenching process, especially in light of consequences for family members, Kavanaugh wrote. Removal is particularly difficult when it involves someone such as this gentleman who has spent most of his life in the United States. Congress made a choice, however, to authorize removal of non-citizens, even lawful permitted residents, who have committed certain serious crimes. Okay, so the ruling is a major victory for the Trump administration, who argued against the gentleman's bid to avoid removal. This is one of the offenses is a firearm offense. So it's interesting the way Democrats twist themselves into pretzels. Well, it's a firearm offense, but it's an immigrant, so it's okay. One is a firearm offense. One is a drug offense. Now, again, I'm not making a moral judgment of the individual. He didn't, take anyone's life, and he wasn't like some kind of crime boss, and but notice that Kavanaugh referred to the laws in place that Congress voted upon. So what the Supreme Court does often is they say, look, the existing laws in the book take into account this certain situation, and then they say, okay, is this constitutional? Well, if there are already laws in the book where if you commit a criminal offense within the 7-year period, it goes back to zero. You can't. The second you commit the criminal offense within the 7-year period that you arrive in the country, if you try to appeal removal, then what happens is if you try to appeal removal, it goes back as to like zero. You just got into the country, so you basically have a 7-year period where you cannot commit any crimes. This gentleman committed 2. Okay, like I said, I actually side with the Supreme Court on the EPA ruling regarding the diverting the water into the ground, dirty sewage water, dirty water into the ground, or industrial water. And I side with the Supreme Court regarding this. Okay, I'm a Trump supporter. The average Trump supporter is not as much of an ideologue as the average Democrat is for their alleged value system. Okay? I am not going to... The important issue, and ladies and gentlemen, please, 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 subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman. That is a new channel that I have 7 minutes into my 7-minute crowd. Subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman. It's with me with masks and disguises and costumes, and I am going to be yelling into the screen with my wig and hat and sunglasses, pretending to be your worst nightmare regarding the liberal or progressive or left-leaning person in your life who judges and condemns you. So if you know somebody who, whether it's a family member or a coworker or a friend, longtime friend, or somebody close to you that is giving you problems because or trying to denigrate you or insult you or demean you or mock you or judge you or condemn you because you vote for President Trump, I will be that person, and it'll be a catharsis to look at me and to hear everything that I say, because I will be the most loyal, true believing derangement TDS person. So if a person has Trump derangement issues, that if you watch me, it'll be a catharsis, because I'll be that person. So it's satire, it's a comedy channel, and it'll be very bizarre because it's the antithesis of H.A. Goodman and H.A. Goodman's other channels. So please, please, please subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman. That is below in the pinned comment. And the world could see the way people who despise Trump act on that channel. It'll be a mirror to all the people who have annoyed you. President Trump, this is important to remember or to understand. They've always tried to make Trump a caricature of everything they don't like about him or everything they fear about him. He is not that person. He's not an authoritarian despot who just flouts laws and does whatever he wants. Today is an example. He won one, he lost one. In life, you win some, you lose some. Okay? And what they don't understand is that the fact that he's winning Supreme Court cases and losing Supreme Court cases shows that he's playing by the rules. They didn't impeach him on a crime, by the way. They impeached him based on obstruction of Congress and abuse of power. These are subjective allegations. These are just basically formal accusations. They're not legal statutes. Bill Clinton was impeached on a legal statute. 2 legal statutes, obstruction of justice and lying under oath, perjury. They didn't notice something. They didn't impeach President Trump. They did not impeach President Trump. Notice, they did not impeach President Trump on any legal statutes. Then you have, President Trump is a criminal presidency. Well, where's the crime? A couple months back, when they were focused only on impeachment and didn't focus on the current crisis, a couple months back, they were just obsessed with removing the president. So they wanted to remove the president, and then they blame him for not looking into the future. In January, on March 1st, Andrew Cuomo of New York and New Jersey. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. God bless the people of New York and New Jersey. I have family in those locations. If you look at it's 48% of the lives lost in both states and 42% of the cases in the entire United States. So in the entire United States, 48% of the lives lost are in New York and New Jersey. Almost half of 50 states, the suffering and the carnage and from all of this is in 2 states. That's why when there was a New York Magazine article today, Trump's America is being affected by this. What? Go look at the New York Times statistics. 8 out of the top 10 states, 8 out of the top 10 states have Democratic governors. And the 4th state, Massachusetts, is a political machine, a Democratic political machine. They have a Republican governor, but they're always a blue state. It's a blue state in the Northeast. So this is affecting large cities where perhaps there's a substantial amount of poverty run by Democrats who didn't foresee that people living in close proximity with one another in urban environments where perhaps there is a great amount of poverty or a substantial amount of poverty, didn't foresee that, maybe this health crisis could have affected these people a lot more than people in Nebraska or Wyoming or Arkansas or even Georgia. Look at the statistics. It drops off considerably from New York to New Jersey, and then from New Jersey to everyone else considerably. So this is an issue that affects primarily 8 states compared to the entire country, and they tanked the entire. We have 22 million unemployed people. So you got to so check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. I did a segment on that yesterday. And after this channel, I'll do a segment on H.A. Goodman's other channel. Every segment on this channel, I'm going to try to do on H.A. Goodman's other channel also. But definitely subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman. It is going to be fantastic. I'm building that channel. Get it to 3,000 to 4,000 subs. So when I start my shtick, my comedy routine, the satire, we can get some videos viral. Because it'll be something you'll want to share. I will be the antithesis of who I am, but it'll be I will portray the person in your life who annoys the heck out of you by judging you and by condemning you for voting for President Trump. And I'll just literally read, CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times, articles, against Trump, but with passion, as if I truly, I don't know. I'll be a loyal, intellectual, person who despises the president, like the average Democrat. And people will be able to see what they sound like when they condemn their friends or family members for voting for President Trump. Give me your thoughts below. Subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman right now. It is below in the pinned comment and description and description section. In about 15, 20 minutes or so, I will do a segment on H.A. Goodman's other channel, so I'll have 3 channels total. Give me your thought. Who knows? Maybe in the future, an archery channel. Why not? Give me your thoughts below. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. Thanks, everybody. You win some, you lose some. President Trump just won a big ruling, and he lost a ruling. But again, to Democrats, if he wins at all, it's a travesty. Give me your